Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. Betty, we're up on a mountaintop this time, right?
We sure are. This is a to be continued type series.
Right, yeah. This is the Mount of Transfiguration, and we're inside the church here, and as you can see, this beautiful window, the stained glass window, sets off the one end, the eastern end of the church, and it is really quite beautiful. In fact, the day that we were up there on this particular trip, masses were being said all over, inside the church, outside the church, on the church grounds, and it was really something.
And I love that picture of Moses. I think that is so sensational, and I can recall being provoked with you because you didn't do the other ones, and then you did, and I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well,
that
okay.
wasn't very nice of me.
I'll accept your apology.
Well, thank you very much. It was not. I wasn't very nice.
But here, as you can see, the outside of the church. This is as you come up, and you've taken a long drive up there, and then you walk there, and you see this. And it's really quite magnificently built, I think. And I really like wandering around because what we're just seeing here is just a portion of it. The grounds are quite extensive here. There was an old Crusader church up here at one time, wasn't there, Betty?
Yes, there was, and there is a tomb that we could have walked by as we got off of the limousines coming on the way on up to the site of the church itself. And you know, Marv, when you think that this was built on top of a mountain, so that took some doing, you know. It wasn't like I guess, of course, a lot of the rock that they're using for the church itself probably came from the side of the mountain.
And there was a picture there of the architect, and that guy really had a job, I'll tell you, and did a beautiful job too, didn't he?
Well, they're all artists. Didn't you say this was the Roman arch that they're, using throughout through all of the architecture?
And we'll see that later on in today's show too. And on another church, a new church is being built or reconstructed over, of course, an old place. And of course, that's what we see so much in the Holy Land as well, is that you'll see we say newer church, maybe it's only 400 or 500 years old, but it was built on top of the ruins of another church, and it was really quite something.
And the carvings, I mean, every place you look, you just don't hardly see brick. You see all of the carvings in the brick, and most of them represent something. But that is one of my favorite places, the two peacocks.
Yes, and it's really quite beautiful. And of course, that's behind the main altar in the main sanctuary of the church. And now here's what you want to see: these beautiful mosaics of the angels on either side, right? And they are beautiful. They're really quite nice.
Well, every place you look, there's something beautiful in all of the churches that we go to, because all of the works were performed as acts of love, you know, and devotion.
Very definitely.
The artists put their whole heart and soul in it.
And speaking about taking pictures, part of our group there, we're taking pictures there with the bishop. Now, as you can see, standing here on the southern side of the mountain here, the view from here is absolutely incredible. Look, I mean, how far you can see. It was a little bit of a hazy day that day too, but if you look down in the lower portion of the picture, you can see some of the other areas that where buildings had been at one time, and it is beautiful. To me, it looks more like a garden on top of that mountaintop.
Marv, do you stop and think a little bit about in Jesus's time? Of course, they did have the agriculture there. The trees are there for well, these are probably new ones, but he walked up the mountain. We're looking down, and he walked up, and you feel more of a closeness with the story of Jesus and the Church of the Transfiguration. By the way, do you think our viewers know what the Church of Transfiguration is?
Well, this is a place where Jesus was transfigured, where he actually became just brilliant as the sun.
Bright as the sun, yes.
And this is, we could go on with that, but we are going on right now on the bus. And if you don't know the story of the Transfiguration, you should really probably study that just a little bit, right? Yeah. We're heading now. We're going to head down. We're a ways from that mountaintop right now. This is not on the way down from that particular place, but we've traveled a little bit further on down the road. And you can see a lot of the new buildings here, as of course you have heard that time and time again, that in various areas in the Holy Land, of course, there are new buildings, there are settlements that are going up all over the place.
Yeah, they're not pretty.
No, no, and in fact, you know, and if you look here, this is new construction right here. But the thing is that places that we were fortunate to visit years ago that were very pastoral and very peaceful, now there are entire villages or settlements that are there too. But of course, Israel does have an awful lot of people that, of course, migrate to the country, and they do have to have naturally places to live. And so you can see a lot of new construction all over the place.
And they build for utilitarian purposes. I suppose with time, as time passes, with the more plantings and paintings and stuff outside, that it'll take off that austere look that we see.
Well, you know, that's what I like about the building material that you see here in the Holy Land, is that sandstone, which I think we're referring to kind of as brick, that is carved, is usually the facade of a lot of the buildings. And on the inside of a lot of buildings, too, that I have been in, some of the homes there, too. They're built that way, and they're really quite nice.
Okay, now we're right here in California. We're on our way down to Los Angeles, and there's the oil.
I know. It looks very similar.
Can't you think that, really?
It really does. It looks very similar to that. That's very, very true. Now, we're going to go now through an area of what would probably be more familiar if you were reading the Old Testament in the areas that we're going to be traveling right now. But look at, yeah, you're right, Betty. It does look very, very much like
California.
Yeah. Actually, we have now traveled from Israel into the West Bank, as you can see, and now the signs will not be in the 3 languages, but the language, of course, of Arabic, as you see here. And we went through several of these villages in the West Bank area. And of course, this is all under control now of the Palestinian Authority. And one time, perhaps in the future, this may become the Palestinian state. And that yet has to be determined. But we were traveling through, of course, on market day, and that's what I just really love to see. Look at those gorgeous bananas that were there, and oh my gosh, all the wonderful fruits and vegetables. And you're right, it is really sort of the fruit basket of the Middle East right there, sort of as the San Joaquin Valley is for our particular nation.
Well,
so
you have to figure, it's an oasis in the desert. That's why everybody flocked. Are we not in that particular area near Jericho?
We're heading down toward Jericho a little later on, right?
Yeah, so that is where the people would go and to grow their produce, and then I guess peddle it and make some money, huh?
Yeah, and there's a lot of it growing, of course, all year long, because they do get many crops out of there. Again, another sign over here on the left-hand side that I wanted you to see, and that again tells us that we are in the West Bank area. And the little Jeep right there in the foreground, that is a UN observer car, which we saw many of those within this particular area. Now, Betty, what I was talking about a little bit earlier, of course, the stone that is used mainly as the building material here in the Holy Land, we traveled a couple of miles here, and this was all stoneworks, various companies here that had a lot of stoneworks, and perhaps some of it a little bit, maybe marble and other building materials here. So you see that it is plentiful there, and it is used very, very well, I think.
Now, let me ask you, did you see those blocks? Mm-hmm. Now, are those constructed blocks, or were they taken out of the side of a mountain that way?
I think those were taken out of the mountain. They were dug that way, and then those will be then chopped down into the brick form, as you say, that we see there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, again, here we wanted to show you as we cross, again, from Israel into West Bank and vice versa, we still do have not really a checkpoint, but there are some observation points that are there now, and it's sort of we don't see as many soldiers as we had in the past.
We have seen plenty in the past. In fact, they were almost non-existent, even at the airport.
Right.
And if you look to the right here, can you see a broken well right here to the right of the road?
Oh, yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
This is what they call Joseph's well. And just to refresh your memories, Joseph's well is the well that we know of from the book of Genesis, when Jacob, after many days that he have not heard from his sons who went grazing the sheep, he sent the son Joseph to look for them. Remember that story? And when he came up to this area, and it says in that reference, they were in the valley of Dothan. This is the Dothan Valley, in reference to a village by the name of Dothan back in those days. So this is the Dothan Valley. the brothers who were so jealous of Joseph saw this an opportunity to get rid of him. So they imprisoned him in that well, and that's why they call him Joseph's well.
And of course, Betty, we know the story of Joseph, right? I mean, how his brothers did that to him, and then eventually he was sold into slavery and made his way into Egypt and became one of the favorites of the pharaohs.
Yeah, that's one of the fun stories to tell kids because it's almost like a fairy story, how he was rescued and the brothers were sorry, and then Joseph became such a wonderful figure.
Yeah, it's good. Anyway, the well is still there. I mean, this is...
well.
The story is deep as that well, I suspect. Anyway, we're going to go to another well on today's program as well. But this, again, is another one of the signs designating that we are now in the West Bank area. And, you know, a lot of the trees here, of course, I guess that you would recognize as being what kind of trees, Betty?
I think those are olive trees.
Olive trees
yes.
are right. That's true. And if you look very closely, sometimes you can see the tents of some of the Bedouins there and maybe some of the goats and some of the sheep that may be wandering around there as well. But there are a lot of greenhouses or hothouses that are located throughout the Holy Land, and so crops are grown there all the time.
Romans called this city Nablus. The Romans are the ones who rebuilt the city and called it Nablus. And when they did that, that was because they built another city in Europe, in Italy of today. The city of Napoli is actually the twin city of Nablus. Those two cities were built by the Romans, and one is called Napoli and this one is Nablus, and both of them means the new city, Neapolis actually, that's the name, Neapolis, the new city, and Napoli. They are twin cities actually that were built by the Romans, and the original name is, as I said, Shechem of the Bible. Nablus is a city, a major city today in the Palestinian territory.
And of course here right in the center of Nablus is Jacob's Well, and we've visited this a few times. This is a very interesting place, I think. Betty, I was surprised. As I say, I had not been back here to Jacob's Well for many, many years. And when I was there the first time, there wasn't anything here. I mean, you had to go downstairs, where we are going to go in a moment, to get to the well. But all of a sudden, we pulled up here, and here's this great big building.
Well, Marv, this is in the process of being built. I was there last year, and the same thing. But for years, we were not allowed down into this territory. So this was sort of off the beaten track. And the progress has been very slow in the building of this church.
Is this going to be a Greek Orthodox church, Betty?
Yeah, that's what the sign on the outside said. And
there's your Roman arches again, right?
Yeah.
Right, which is so prevalent, of course, here in the Holy Land.
They didn't have a whole lot of it done, but we did get an idea. It was very, very large, and we all walked around, and of course the interesting part was going down the stairs and seeing what you're looking at right now.
And of course this was the only place that I knew that existed once before. So, and it is a very small little area that you kind of crowd into.
To show you how deep this well is. Remember I told you it's deeper than the Sea of Galilee. So if you keep silent, you can hear it when it hits the water down there. Do you hear that? Because you're not completely silent. Okay. Do you hear that?
A reading from the Gospel according to John. Now when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, though Jesus himself was not baptizing, just his disciples, he left Judea and returned to Galilee. He had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of land that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. Jesus, tired from his journey, sat down there at the well. It was about noon. A woman of Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." He His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How can you, a Jew, ask me, a Samaritan woman, for a drink?" For Jews use nothing in common with Samaritans. Jesus answered and said to her, "If you knew the gift of God and who was saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you do not even have a bucket, and the cistern is deep. Where then can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us his cistern and drank from it himself with his children and his flocks?" Jesus answered and said to her, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give will never thirst. The water I shall give will become in him a spring of water, welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water, so that I may not be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come back." The woman answered and said to him, "I do not have a husband." Jesus answered her, "You are right in saying I do not have a husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you people say that the place to worship is in Jerusalem." Jesus said to her, "Believe me, woman, the hour is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You people worship what you do not understand. We worship what we do understand, because salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now here, when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. And indeed the Father seeks such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that the Messiah is coming, the one called the Anointed. When he comes, he will tell us everything." Jesus said to her, "I am he, the one who is speaking with you."
And of course, this is so important. Of course, that was a long reading, and there's more to that, of course. But this is so important because this is where Jesus did reveal himself as the Messiah to the woman at the well here. And I think this is very interesting. Of course, everybody then wanted to have a little drink as well. We should also explain too that the Samaritans still live in this area. They live up on one of the mountaintops. And have a temple up there as well.
Did you drink?
Out of that? Yeah, but I got there first before all the germs were passed around.
I'm pretty good about foods and stuff like that, but I passed on this one. I took a little bit, blessed myself, and think that's going to do it, Bets. You don't need to do anything more. So.
I'll tell you, the water is good, though. It's very good, very cold.
What?
Well, we leave Jacob's Well, and we're going to leave right now Nablus, and we're going to head on down and we are very, actually, it doesn't look like it here, but we're fairly high in the mountain areas right here.
What does that say? Yeah. Quick, what's the reading?
The reading says you are now leaving the West Bank area.
Oh, you are really? I knew you would
I
know
don't
that.
Know if it
I
says
knew
that.
that's exactly what it said.
No, it says watch out for the sheep on the road. I don't know, but anyway.
Take your choice, huh?
Take your choice.
Okay.
Anyway, as we did travel down the mountain, we of course saw a lot more vegetation. We saw some people riding some burros. There's some donkeys right there. And we also saw some Bedouins along the way, too. Of course, as you can see some of the tents right here. This is a small tent, and a lot of the Bedouins, of course, have huge, great big tents, and some of them drive Mercedes.
That's right. You don't really have to feel sorry for them. They really have a good life. Do you remember the time we went in one of their tents and we had tea, and they served us royally? It was very, very nice.
And you can see more of it right here. Yeah, well, according to my friends in the Holy Land, the Bedouins do very, very well for themselves and are fairly affluent. So
I feel sorry for the women.
There you see some more of the bigger tents.
Yeah, think of the poor women though. Oh gosh, how do you keep things clean? Well, they don't. Yeah, I finished my own sentence. I'm sorry, but I mean to wash for the little kids and stuff. Forget it.
I don't know. I suspect that they're going to camp at sites where they do have water,
because they have to drink, of course.
Anyway, we're going to head now again further south because we want to get to Jericho today too. And the Holy Land is not a big place, but it does take a while to get to some of these areas. And going to Jericho, of course, I think is always very, very interesting because Jericho, of course, is the oldest city on earth.
What song do you think of when you hear Jericho?
battle.
Had to
Joshua fit the
Battle
battle of, right? Yeah.
Jericho, yeah. Immediately it comes to mind, doesn't it? You want to give a little You want to give a little rendition?
No. I think they probably we start singing. Everybody's going to switch to a
Oh, you
different
mean
channel.
they use their
Yeah.
clicker? All right.
Anyway, you can see part of the city of Jericho here. Jericho has grown, actually, especially in the last few years. It has grown quite a bit. And the big thing, of course, that we always want to see in Jericho is there's another big mountain there, and that is the Mount of Temptation. And this is just part of the side of it, as you can see right here. And this some beautiful views right here, as you can see the kind of the desolate-looking mountain and then the beautiful greenery in the foreground right here, because there are beautiful wells that are right here. So we are going to listen to our guide in just a moment as he explains to us some of what we're taking a look at, and also a little bit, of course, about the history of when Jesus was tempted by the devil here on top of the Mount of Temptation. Thereby, of course, that's where it got its name. And there is a monastery that is sort of what I call it, like a hanging monastery, because it's right there on the side of the mount. I'd love to go visit that sometime.
Yeah, it looks like one of the 7 wonders of the world to me, because look at how it's just hanging there. It's just, wow.
Wouldn't you like to go up there? Do they allow women to go visit?
Yes, we could have.
I will just quote to you what the devil said to Jesus in regard to this mountain. The devil said to Jesus, "Come up here and I'll show you the kingdoms of the world." From up there you can see Mount Tabor, believe me, where we came from this morning. You can see as far as Jerusalem to the west, the capital of Jordan to the east, Amman. You can see that from here. You can see the desert, the Negev desert to the south. That's probably what is meant with the 4 kingdoms of the world. The structure is actually what is left from a church that started to be built in 1912 by the Russian Orthodox, and they stopped with the beginning of the First World War in 1914. The money stopped coming from Russia and they stopped building. It has a cross shape, by the way, and underneath excavations lead us to a castle that was built by Herod the Great. And Herod the Great had a very great interest in Jericho. He had a great business flourishing here, which is what? Cosmetics again. Cosmetics produced from the persimmon. You know what persimmon is? Not exactly the same persimmon that we have today, but it's definitely the same variety and of that variety. And to the left-hand side, you can see a monastery hanging on the cliff of the mountain. Can you see that? And that is what they call the Karantel Monastery, which is a Greek Orthodox monastery. And it has been here since the 4th century. And that monastery is named Karantel, taken from the word in Greek, karantina, which means 40, in reference to the 40 days and nights that our Lord was tempted in this area.
So from Jericho, we're going to go a little bit further south, and we're going to head just toward the northwest portion of the Dead Sea. And of course, Betty, that would take us to where? That would take us to Qumran.
Qumran, of course.
Caves here, and in order to check into those caves, he started throwing stones to see if that sheep is in there to scare it out. And in one of those caves, he heard something break when he threw that stone. So he walks in there and he found a jar, a pottery jar, a vessel, and a vessel, that pottery jar, and inside he found scrolls, which he didn't know what they are. I mean, he's a shepherd. He doesn't know anything except nature and sheep and goats. And so he picked them up, and he went with those scrolls up to Jerusalem, and he came to a shoemaker by the name of Kando. He doesn't, he's not alive anymore, but his kids are there today. Kando is from Bethlehem, but he had a little place where he fixed shoes in Jerusalem, and he came to him trying to sell him that those scrolls so he can make shoes from them. Kando, being an Armenian, a smart man, looked at those scrolls and he said to the shepherd, he said, I'll buy them and I'll buy as many as you bring, actually. So the shepherd, believe me, changed his job immediately from a shepherd to an archaeologist the next day. Altogether, so far, we found 800 scrolls. And that doesn't mean we found everything, but the 800 are divided into two groups, folks. You probably still do not know what is the significance of those scrolls. Neither do we, but we kind of have an idea. But I'll tell you in short, the 800 scrolls are divided into two groups. One group is 600 scrolls, another is 200. The 200 group is actually the original copy of the Old Testament. That's the first time when the Old Testament was put together as a, you see, the Old Testament was written in bits and pieces. This group kind of put them into chapters and a whole book each. Okay? And the other 600 scrolls are the scrolls that were written by the Essene community itself about their way of life, about their interpretation of the Bible, of certain issues in the Bible, about what was their plan for the future. And all those are together 800, and I'm saying we don't know that we found all of them because there are missing links. That means we still have to find some more scrolls. We don't know if we're going to find them because there's a lot of archaeology thefts involved in this business.
Well, Betty, on our next show, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Mr. Kondo who he mentioned. Mr. Kondo, of course, has passed away, but we were his guests at one time, and he gave both Betty and I a gift, and we'll talk about that on the next show. But speaking about places to go, we're going to go back here again, right?
We sure are. And for you people that are looking at this picture and you think, oh my gosh, I wish we would have gone. It's such a great trip. Well, now you have the opportunity because we are going back again, and it's going to be in March of next year, 06.
We'd love to have you join us. If you would like some more information on it, give me a call, 488-7443, and we can talk about it. How about that, Mark?
I think that's very good.
I stole your lines.
No, that's quite all
Yes,
right.
you usually say to me, Betty, you want to tell them, and I beat you to the punch this time.
That's fine with me. Let's tell them the phone number one more time real quickly.
My phone number is 488-7443.
So we will see you next time. Until then, bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.